the summer signings is really strange because the summer signings, don't get me wrong, they've been good. But compared to how good Arsenal have turned into since last season, the summer signings haven't like blown the squad apart. Why are Arsenal now so good? Is the first question, I guess.
Well, there's
a lot of reasons.
Big question.
Mm.
No doubt the summer signings have had a massive impact, and I think it's been a big narrative of the course of the season with Jesus and Zinchenko coming in from Man City, the experience of winning 4 league titles there and quite a few domestic trophies as well, like Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. But I think it's just been more of an evolution. It's just everything's just kind of come together at once. So, you see our team's got such a young squad, and all of them have developed in their own way in the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the signing of Jesus was massive, not only because he's very, very good, but also who we had there most of last season wasn't very good. And Lacazette, and struggled to get around the pitch for at least 60 minutes without, his heart bursting. You know what? Like, I love him, and he was a great servant to the club, but we absolutely needed to upgrade in that.
His time had gone.
And yeah, exactly. And it said it all that when Nketiah came in, who he's a pretty decent striker. He's not Jesus in terms of the quality of player overall. When he came in at the end of last season, it was just such a crazy difference, and Lacazette couldn't get back in the team. And then so there was the evolution of up front, and then you see the impact that Zinchenko has. I don't think anyone could have really realised how much of an impact he would have had. But when he's missing and when he's not on this Arsenal team, like Kieran Tierney comes in, and obviously he's a great player, but Zinchenko, he's not a left back when he plays for us. He plays as a left central midfielder, or if you like a lot of Arsenal fans were laughing at the Bukayo Saka opener against Everton a few weeks ago because he's on the bloody right wing to assist him there, and it's just outrageous. Like how has he ended up there? So I think his impact can't be understated. He's just such a top player, and I think him coming into the team and his natural, I don't know the word to say it, but it just comes natural to him to rotate with players and rotate in and out of his natural position. And like if you watch like most Arsenal goals now, we see every player popping up. Like the goal on the weekend, Jesus' second goal. Jesus, when he's playing it through the Trossard, is around the the right 8 position, and Odegaard, where he's usually on the right central midfielder, is on the left. I think Xhaka's all the way out on the left wing. Like they're just
it's mental.
Everyone is it's absolutely mental. I feel for any team that has to come up against us and try and man mark.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I've went through a few points with Jesus and Zinchenko there overall, but I mean, I could be talking for hours on why we could, to be honest.
I think when we played you, it was the game where we had a 0.01 XG. So you don't need to tell me about that, because I remember very clearly watching a side sit back for 90 minutes, even when they're losing 1-0. Cheers for going, Brendan. But you've touched on it there. I mean, Zinchenko was obviously an excellent buy. This was a play that when at City, people were like, is he a left back? Is he a defence? Is he a defensive midfielder? Some were even saying he's an attacking midfielder. And for a long time, when he was sort of coming up through the system with Foden, I was like, they're both attacking midfielders, because that's what Zinchenko looked like. He was too skillful to be a left back, if anything. And now he's sort of found that role, and it suited him perfectly. They're making players around them better as well, and this is what's annoying. People like Martinelli and Saka and even Xhaka, the centre backs, everyone's just got better this season because of just a couple new signings. I mean, we'll touch on Arteta a little bit later, but that's clearly down to him. For those who haven't been watching Arsenal this season, and I'm sure this will be quite a short answer because it's not hard to ask how the season's been going, but how is the season going? This is probably quite an easy one.
pretty good.
Yeah, quite well.
It's not been too bad. Yeah.
No, there's been worse.
It's quite the understatement, I think.
Yes.
I don't think anyone really thought we'd be here.
No.
Especially from an outsider's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I think the signs were there at the start of the season and pre-season, but I don't think any Arsenal fan was really willing to believe it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were in the USA and we spanked Chelsea 4-0. Probably said a lot about how their season was going to go as well.
Yes.
And at that point, we're playing some fluid football. You know, Odegaard was getting on the score sheet. I think Zinchenko came in for his first game probably a couple of days after he'd signed and just looked absolutely world class. And Saliba had slotted right into the team after all the talk about him and his contract. And it was such a happy time. And then we came back to the Emirates and beat Sevilla, something like 6-0. Jesus with a hat trick, and it was all looking really rosy. But I think at that point we were just thinking, look, I think we're destined for top 4 this season. You know, or we have a really good shout of it. And to be here where we are now, 8 points clear of Man City, I think if you told me that a year ago, or I think it was just about a year ago when we were going through that 3-match run of losses, when we lost against like Brighton, Southampton and Crystal Palace all in a row, and felt like we were bottling top 4, I would have said a few expletives to you.
Yes.
I think I wouldn't have been too happy with that type of nonsense talk, but
no,
it's not.
No, it's not. I mean, I've just gone back and looked at the Premier League predictions now. I tipped you to finish 5th at the start of the season, putting Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool and City all ahead of you.
Well,
I do just want to check. Please don't say I put Liverpool as winners, because I have a feeling I put Liverpool to win the Premier League. I put Liverpool second. Thank God I put Liverpool second. Oh, that would have not looked good. Because if City don't win it, that's fine. You know, if they come second, cool. If I put all right, but yeah, I put you 5th, and that says a lot of sort of how good you've been compared to how good we expect you to be. That people are saying sort of, are challenging for top 4. Somebody like Jesus is going to come in and make a big impact, which he has done. But they weren't expecting him to make people like Martinelli and Saka around him even better, I guess. And yeah, Arsenal have just simply been excellent. We touched on the past there. We'll move forward to the future. What does the run-in look like for this Arsenal side?
You know what? I'll have to remind myself.
Do you want me to get it up for you?
I can get it up, don't worry.
Right.
I'll just be 2 seconds.
No worries.
But to be honest, a lot of people have been talking about how it is slightly more difficult than Man City's. I think it would be fair to say in terms of the Premier League results, but people fail to remember that they're still in the Champions League and they've still got to face arguably one of the best squads in Europe.
Yes.
Bayern Munich.
Indeed.
Obviously, a lot of talk about the managerial situation and Nagelsmann being very surprisingly sacked.
Indeed.
Bringing in Tuchel, who's won a Champions League just a couple of seasons ago, doesn't seem like a bad idea either.
No.
But overall, I have to be very politically correct as an Arsenal fan and say, just got to take it one game at a time. And,
yes.
Just got to say the same old thing that the manager and the players say. But it's absolutely true, because I think that's what they're thinking, and I think that's what's making it work.
Yeah.
Especially now that we've just got one competition to focus on and pretty much just playing one game per week.
Yeah.
We've got Liverpool this weekend, I think.
You do.
At Anfield, it comes with it. So, despite how poor they've been,
still a challenge.
Going to Anfield and the way that we've been at Anfield for the last decade, to be fair, I don't actually really know because I'm only 19, but I've heard a lot of fans say that this has been a thing that's gone on since pretty much the 80s. Like, Arsenal have never been good at Anfield. So, to get this off that monkey off our back and and win there would be massive. One. And a lot of Arsenal fans are treating it as if, like, if we win there, like, we've almost got one hand on it. Which I think I see what they mean by
I
that.
agree. Looking at the running, I think if you beat Liverpool, you can't beat Arsenal. You are Arsenal. You'll then have West Ham and Southampton, which you should beat both of them easily. I mean, West Ham aren't showing much, and Southampton, well, look at Southampton. I know obviously you've had results in the past, so if West Ham were to maybe change their manager right before that game, then it could be an Everton repeat, but still you'd expect to pick up the points. It's that chunk of City, Chelsea and Newcastle. 3 back-to-back games there. That's where you're going to drop the points, and that if you can come out of that still, sort of 3 points clear, you easily win the Premier League, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, as you said with that West Ham game, it's probably is all down to if there was a managerial bounce, you never know. But I'm going to say one name to you.
Okay.
And that player is going to be the difference.
Okay.
I think it could be Rob Holding.
Rob, not the name I was expecting. I was expecting to maybe hear Trossard or somebody like that. Was not expecting Rob Holding, no.
The reason I say Rob Holding is because in those big fixtures against a Man City or a Liverpool, I'm not sure if you're aware about William Saliba's injury situation.
Yes, I've heard of that, yes.
But essentially, Arteta has pretty much been doing his best to get him cleared to just be able to make it to the end of the season and see if they just try and play with his injury and contribute in the best way he can. And I'm not sure how much you've seen of Rob Holding, but he's not the quickest. And we play a very high line. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans still have massive PTSD of last season, where he came into the team for his his first Premier League start of the season against Spurs, and then got sent off within 30 minutes.
Yes.
And really struggled with Son. And you can just imagine a similar situation happening with a Cody Gakpo or a Salah, because of the pace they have and the ability they have. And Rob Holding, it really worries you.
I know what you mean.
No disrespect to Rob Holding, because I actually think he's quite a good defender, but he just does not suit our system at all. I could see him being brilliant for a Crystal Palace or a team that's willing to sit a bit deeper and play on the counter. Very good box defender, as you've seen. Probably a lot of Arsenal fans with the Rob Holding 5-2-3 meme when he comes on the 85th minute, and Arsenal will go to like a 5 or a 6 at the back last season to try and smash out a win, and he'd bring out every time he'd put up the 5 fingers showing that we're going to 5 at the back, and every Arsenal fan would just have a release of calmness. We'd be like, oh, Rob Holding's here to save the day, guys, don't worry.
Indeed. Indeed.
So yeah.
Yeah. I not the answer I was expecting. When you said there about the high line, I had to keep everything I had to myself to not make any hairline jokes. Obviously, he's now got a high hairline, which he didn't before. So, Rob, if you're listening, congratulations on getting hair. You've done really well. I don't know if you went to Turkey, I'm going to presume you did, but well done you, because you might not be able to play in a high line, but at least you've got a high line of hair. I don't know if that works. Moving on, because this is...
I just want to say one thing. I think you talked about that Xhaka redemption arc. Rob Holding's hairline redemption arc
is it better? Is it better?
I've got to say it's better. Like, as someone who constantly worries about their hairline because of their father's genes and how bald he went, how early. I gotta say, that is incredibly impressive. Like, he genuinely, that haircut is something that most people couldn't achieve, bald or not. But to go from completely bald to that's extraordinary. I'm sure he's saying to Xhaka himself, come on, mate, I deserve the credit.
I think you're already up there with my favourite guests, because you've actually taken my stupid ideas and run with them. We've just had a 2-minute conversation about Rob Holding's hair. Quality. Absolute quality, that. I guess the next question, and it's a quite easy question, not that you're going to probably want to answer it, as you will, because you already said one game at a time. Will Arsenal win the Premier League? Here's you trying to debate jinxing it and also wanting to be confident in the side, and also, so good luck.
Okay, one game at a time. I gotta say, every single game I get more and more confident about it.
Yes.
But at the same time, as you said, I don't want to be that guy that jinx it. And every single podcaster I listen to myself, all the Arsenal podcasters, none of them want to do the same, so I don't want to be that guy. But I tell you what, if we go and beat Liverpool this weekend, I'm going to find it very hard not to say it, because every single season I go to Anfield. Well, I don't go to Anfield. I'm in New Zealand, but my older brother and my dad are both Liverpool fans, and every single time I try and get myself hyped up and say, "Oh, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year," even though we'd be turning up to Anfield with bloody Lichtsteiner and Socrates in the back. I'd still be piping up and so confident that we're maybe going to do it this year, and then we go get spanked 4 or 5-0, and then my heart's broken again. But this season, it feels like we really, really should do something there. Not that we could do it, but we really should, because we are a lot better than Liverpool this season. And yeah, I find it very hard to say that we aren't going to win the league if we win there, because of all the horrible history. And to be honest, I think no one could really argue that we wouldn't deserve it, because I mean, we're gonna, like, at this rate, it looks like we're gonna finish at least on the late 80s, 90 points, and that's a terrific season. As much as people want to talk about Man City's downfall, which I think is very overstated anyways, I just think, like, a lot of people try and discredit us, and a lot of people in the media try and discredit the type of season Arsenal having. And with all due respect, I've not liked the comparison with us and your guys' Leicester City title season, because, listen,
we're very different.
That was an awesome team, but I think Ben White's a little bit better than Denny Simpson, with all due respect. Like,
I mean, the impact subs of Jeffrey Schlupp compared to Leandro Trossard, similar levels in my opinion. I mean, one of them now plays in midfield for Crystal Palace, but I mean, Leonardo Rogel was the guy who came off the bench, and I'm pretty sure he's playing like the 3rd division of Spain now. So personally, I do see your point. You've got a lot better squad than us, and we were more underdogs. I mean, we're favourites for relegation. Yeah.
And I also think the fact that this team has been building for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Since Arteta came in December 2019, so a long time. Like, people don't realise, like, people try and, or like at least the media try and act like, oh, this is just all out of the blue, which in some respects it is, because obviously we didn't even make the top 4 last season, but it's been building. There's a young team, and it's just kind of all, as I said once, and I think actually Arteta said in his press conference, maybe at the start of last season, he said this project is just going to go bang, and it did. I think it has went bang this season,
and it did. When you were speaking about that Liverpool game, I got flashbacks to when we won it. Yes, I know I'm talking about us again. Surprise, surprise. Tick off your bingo cards, guys. Daniel's mentioned Leicester City 6 times in the podcast. I know. But it gave me flashbacks to when we beat Spurs. I don't know if you remember it, 'cause obviously you were in the title challenge. We beat Spurs 1-0. Robert Huth rose highest above everyone, headed into the top corner, and I was like, we're going to win the league. After that game, I was like, we're actually going to do it. What would I have been? 5, 6, 7-year-old Daniel? When was it? 8 years? No, I don't even know how old I would have been. And I was in year 5 at school, if that helps. Not to give too much personal information away. Please don't go and stalk where I went to school. But I remember that, so I sort of get the sensation. I think if you guys do beat Liverpool, that will be what you get. I think if you beat Liverpool, you will sort of get that feeling of, it's like, you know what, we're actually going to do this now. And yes, you've got that run of 3 where you've got Chelsea, City and Newcastle. But I still think even if you beat Liverpool as a fan base, you're kind of going to go, all right, we're actually going to win it now. And then you might have a Crystal Palace moment with us where the security would start kicking us out because we were all there for so long singing we're going to win the league.
Well, I just want to remember, is that Spurs game an away game?
It was at White Hart Lane, yes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember it, because I mean, when I think, in 2015-16 I would have been fairly young as well, and I don't think my parents would even let me get up for those games at that time.
Well, I mean, I have a memory of winning the league, which I'll tell you off recordings. I've said it on here far too many times. But
I think I completely agree. Just to answer your question, that I think a lot of Arsenal fans are very, very wary to be that confident. But a lot of people outside of the club, like if I quite like listening to like a Mark Goldbridge, for example.
Great guy. Yes.
It's hilarious, but also I think he's got some very non-biased opinions.
He does.
But he always like seems to say like, well, yeah, I think they'll do it, and even for, like, I'm not sure. Do you know Stevie Nicol from ESPN?
I can't say I do. No, can't say I do.
So ESPN FC, they have their show, and
Yes.
often they get a lot of criticism for some of their opinions, and I've never been a big fan of Stevie Nicol, who's a Liverpool Scottish former footballer, massive Liverpool fan. He's always criticised Arsenal. At times it felt like unfairly, but even this season he's been one of the biggest advocates for Arsenal and their team.
Oh wow.
Whereas a lot of Arsenal fans are very pessimistic and aren't willing to put their foot forth and say, yeah, we're going to do it, which is understandable with all the how long it's been. But yeah, I think if we won at Liverpool with all the history we had there, I think everyone, including me, would find it very difficult to not say we're not going to do it.
Indeed, yeah. I think I do think you will do it. I'll go ahead myself and say I think you will. I've been saying it since probably about December, January. I just think they're going to do this. City are going through a transition, and I think Arsenal at the perfect time. And I know the mantra, one game at a time. We were the kings of one game at a time. Get to 40 points and then go from there. Then always get Europa League football, and we were basically mathematically guaranteed it. So I get the mantra. And obviously that mantra comes from the manager, who we'll move on to now, Arteta. Have you always believed that he would be the man to take Arsenal to the heights? I mean, I can't imagine he would believe anybody would take it to the heights they are now, but have you always believed that Arteta was going to be the man for Arsenal?
Well, that is a question that could expose a fair few Arsenal fans.
It is, yes.
But to be honest, I would say more than most.
Okay.
When he first came in, I was very wary, because a lot of the media narrative around him was that he was just Pep's cone boy, and he'd never coached another team. I think at the time, because 2019 it must have been 14 or 15. I think I was trying to say that we should get Ancelotti in.
Wow.
Which is a very, very different direction, and
it
to
is.
be fair, he's done fairly well at Real Madrid. To say the least, but
one way to put it.
But yeah, I'd say generally, I've since that first press conference he had when he came in, I think it changed a lot of people's opinions on what he was. Like, he was so confident in his own abilities and his own philosophy. And it wasn't in the same way that like a Jose Mourinho, I'm the special one type press conference, but he was just so, the way he spoke was just so moving in the way that everyone just really believed what he was saying, because he believed what he was saying. And to make it easier, I could probably tell you the two times that I probably started to not believe and then very quickly believed in him again.
Yeah, okay.
I want to actually, I'll leave it to you. I'll say there was two moments in his tenure where I thought maybe he should go. Where do you think?
I'm gonna say, I think, obviously I said to you I was watching All or Nothing earlier on. I think after that first 3 games of the season, 0 points from 9 games, a lot of fans were saying they wanted him out. There's someone he spent lots of money on, everyone at that point was saying, 32 million for a backup goalkeeper. That guy's turned out to be Aaron Ramsdale and seems to be a very, very good signing. Is that one of the times?
That is one of the times.
When's the
I'll
second?
give you a hint. One of the other times was the season before.
Okay, did you finish 8th that season, I want to say?
7th or 8th? We're 8th, yeah.
You did get European football, did you?
Arteta finished 8th twice in a row.
Yeah. Wow, okay. So, not too...
It was Villarreal, and we got knocked out of the Europa League.
And that's when you won.
Pretty, very, very disappointing performance in that game, and I think he tried to play Emil Smith Rowe as a false 9 in the first leg, and it had never been done before. And and I feel for him now, because some of the players we had available at that point, and look at the squad we have now, it's just it's a crazy difference. But yeah, I think generally I've stuck by him a lot of the times, and I I think it was after that Man City game when we lost 5-0, when we'd lost our first 3 games in a row of the season. I think we'd gone 3-0 down in like the 55th minute, and we already had a player sent off. And I just went to bed because it was 3 a.m. I was like, oh fuck this. Like,
yeah, I'm off.
I mean, sorry, you might have to censor me for that, but
no, it's fine.
I just could not handle it, and then I think. Even though I wanted to go to bed, I couldn't really, so I just didn't look at my phone, didn't look at the score, and then I was like, oh shit, I have to look at the score now.
Yep.
And I looked at it, was 4-0 I think, and Rodgers had scored, and I was like, oh okay, now I actually am going to go to bed.
Yeah.
I actually fully turned my phone off. I was like, I'm not waking up. I think I had school in the morning as well, and I decided, nah, I'm not even going to go to school. I'm just going to sleep.
Yeah.
I need to sleep. I'm going to bed.
I don't really know where to start after all that, so I'll start with the last thing you said.
Sorry about that, that was a bit of a ramble.
Mate, you have no idea how much I love people talking. I'll probably talk to you more off it. But in a pod where I don't have to do much work, it is the greatest thing on earth, because it's like this. I don't know. I do know about the club, but I don't know as much as you do. So yeah, just speak. I love it. In terms of being in a moment where you've sort of given up on a side, I've been there. It was Spartak Moscow, second leg in the Europa League. We were losing after drawing the first leg. I remember I missed the last 15 minutes. This was the first any minutes of a match I'd missed in 2 years. Nowadays I think it's probably a little bit more, considering I haven't particularly wanted to watch the side recently. But yeah, I switched up my iPad off because I was fuming, and the bloke had just brought on a 18-year-old Nuno Tavares. Was it? No, what's his name? Sydney Tavares for his debut. So I wasn't happy. But yeah,
I was going to say Nuno Tavares. Oh wow.
Sydney Tavares, same name. The bloke then left us at the end of the season because he wanted first team football, and I don't think he's ever played since. So well done, mate.
I've never heard of him. So.
No, went to Porto's B team eventually. So well done, you, my friend. And the other thing was you talking about wanting Arteta gone, and sort of when you thought it would be time to move on. I've never been in a situation where I've wanted a manager gone and then have had to kind of turn back on that. I have a feeling yours wasn't really too, it wasn't like, I need him gone now. Well, you'll have to tell me. Was it, I need him gone now? Was it, I think it's time to move on? Because they're two very different things.
No, I think it's very different, because I think I backed him through that absolutely horrid run of about 15 games. Well, maybe not 15 games, but I think we actually were 15th in December 2020 it was, and we'd not won in about 3 months, something like that, and I still backed him after that, because I said, look at the players he has at his disposal, and then try and come up with an argument of why he shouldn't be 15th. Yeah. It was a shocking team, and coming, for him to have his first full season without fans in the stadium, and it must be pretty hard to get momentum back for that team. But yeah, as you said, it wasn't he has to go, he's shocking.
No.
It wasn't that. It felt like at that point that maybe he was just a little bit inexperienced, and it felt like maybe he needs to make his mistakes somewhere else. I don't think that was it was not a wild opinion at all at that point in the Arsenal fan base. I think a lot of people were thinking the same. But generally, he really has proved me wrong, and absolutely. And I say proved me wrong, but I mean, when I say I wanted him sacked, I did not want him. I probably wanted him sacked for the day of that game, and then the next day I thought, you know what, it's the next day I calmed down.
Yeah, fair enough.
And realised, I think a lot of people have some very raw opinions straight after a game or the day of a game. Yeah. And the next day they could wake up and feel a little bit more calm and realise football's not the only thing.
I get that. You see, I've never had to go back on anything. I was at a point where I wanted a manager to move on, and then I learned to absolutely hate his guts. But we'll move on, so I don't punch something. Because, this has been a very long segment, so I will... let's quickly speak about Xhaka. Just speak to me about Xhaka's redemption, because this has been we touched on it with Rob Holding's hairline, the second best redemption in the Arsenal squad behind said hairline. Just wow, from a guy that everybody hated as captain to now a simply excellent midfielder.
Wow, I mean, I could not speak more highly of Xhaka. I think he's probably my favourite player now. Which, if you said that to me in 2019, even though I think I probably liked him more than a lot of people did, I still think I would have been fairly shocked that in 2023 he'd still be here and he would be one of the players that I love the most, and is still somewhat captaining the side. Extraordinary, you know. And as I said before, I'm not sure if it was actually on record when we were just talking about it earlier, but he was playing as almost a deep line playmaker under Wenger and Emery, and it's been shown over the last season a bit with Arteta that it was just never his role. You know, it really brought out all the worst in him, and instead of the speed, lacking of speed,
yes,
and his rashness and maybe his mistiming of tackles as well. I just don't think that was his role. You know, when I'm sure you would have played football. You know, when you can have all the good qualities you want, but if you're someone that lacks pace, which I can definitely agree with, I consider myself a Jorginho level of speed when I'm playing in midfield. You need someone that's going to get the best out of you. You need the system to work. Otherwise, your flaws will just get exposed. And I think that's fair to say with Xhaka, especially with Wenger and Emery, there was just such a lack of structure to the way we played. That made him just really exposed. And then you see the way that Arteta has moved him into this more of an attacking role this season, which a lot of people, I say this season, but I mean he's actually been there since about December 2021, but people were only just taking notice of it because now he's scoring goals. Just extraordinary really. I don't think anyone thought he would be able to score the goals that he has this season. He's looked fairly natural there. I know a lot of people he has some moments where he's obviously not like a Jude Bellingham-esque or Alexis McAllister type 8 that like some players that some Arsenal fans have brought up as potential Xhaka replacements, but he's just extraordinary, and I think he would be a lot more difficult to replace than people make out. Like a lot of Arsenal fans, when we lose a game or draw a game and doesn't feel like we've scored enough goals, and there's been a few moments where Xhaka gets it on the turn and looks a little bit slow to get there or struggles with his touch, people will instantly go, well, that's where we can improve. But I think his flaws are easier to see than the brilliance he actually does bring to us, and some of the things he does do for us are things that a player like a McAllister or a Jude Bellingham couldn't do. It's just the ball security, the strength. I think he's very underrated as well.
Indeed, right. Well, that is the longest first segment I think we've ever done. I think you've eclipsed the previous time for about 30 minutes. So well done. We'll take a short break here before we come back to either grade every first team Arsenal player season or do a tier list of summer transfer targets. I haven't decided which yet, so let's do that.